Honorable Mkasambida, I'll begin with you from where you left Eala in 2022 up to now where we are. What, in your opinion, would you say has been overlooked?
Of course, obviously, what has been overlooked is the necessity and requirement for establishment of a robust East African parliament that would address the establishment of East Africa as one country, at least for purposes for monetary and customs and market purposes. This could only be achieved if a parliament of a region is autonomous enough with the alternative financing mechanisms that are capable of establishing a level playing field of all these markets for purposes that then this can actually be undertaken without the rigors of partner statism that almost always anchors along the way. One major example would be, we attempted a lot to establish a cross-border trade in professional services. That has actually been faced with a lot of resistance, a lot of gasconades and fanfaronnades from countries that continue to vend partner statism as opposed to, of course, a unified East African community mentality that moves towards the establishment of a single uniform country that we call East Africa. So that is something that has been overlooked. Failure to alternatively finance the assembly has definitely curtailed its work. Now, where the assembly has not performed then, we have also now looked at, of course, the occurrence and the prevalence of barriers that are not related even to tariffs that have also now, again, taken back the community where it thought it had actually advanced. I think those are areas that have been overlooked,
right,
and we think Summit needs to look forward to that.
You raised an important point of forming East Africa as one country. But look, East Africa, many people that we spoke to earlier concerning the sitting of the fifth session, the third session of the Fifth Legislative Assembly, yes, say that, look, East Africa has a number of strongmen. I'm not in position to mention countries right now, but if you look at all the East African countries, 7 of them, we could say majority have strongmen as leaders of this country. Making East Africa one country, we're looking at, for example, some of the ideas of the fathers then of the East African community, political federation. Is it possible that it's about that time we establish as East African community a good governance protocol so that it keeps all the leaders in check for us to be able to achieve that?
Yes, of course the protocol on good governance is still in the pipeline. It is in the offing. But what we are required to have established is the goodwill by leaders of partner states to definitely go that way. We have normative instruments that would also have applied. But you find that all partner states have not adhered to the establishment, to the operationalization of such normative instruments, including instruments for human rights causes like, of course, the protocol on the African Court and on human and people's rights. We have got, first of all, even the extended jurisdiction of the East African Court of Justice is itself being curtailed because of the unwillingness by leaderships in partner states to also go human rights. Now, without attempting to take that journey, it is almost a logical impossibility that we can take the journey of ceding powers to the regional center.
Right, let me get to Joshua. I understand that Kasita will be hosting the East African Legislative Assembly, or will be meeting. I don't know who is hosting the other, but that's not the point. The point is you'll be meeting on Friday, and I know you have a number of issues that you have outlined. What is on top of your agenda? What has failed to be achieved by East African Legislative Assembly?
Thank you, Canary. As Kasita, Uganda, we're very happy to host the Eala, the East African Legislative Assembly, on Friday from 2 to 4:45 at the auditorium of the URSB. Now, on top of the agenda, we're discussing issues that are affecting traders who are doing cross-border trade. And on top of the list, we have non-tariff barriers that have continuously and consistently persisted irrespective of the policy frameworks that have been created. We're talking about issues of the long list of customs requirements that still exist at the different border points. We're also talking about state restrictions that are still existing in different countries. We have also failed to have a faster process on realizing harmonization of quality testing and certification of different products that are produced within the region. And so exportation becomes hard. You have a quality that is accepted in Uganda and it cannot be accepted elsewhere. And the reverse is also true. We have also another issue of tax harmonization that is very slow, that we think can be faster, so that we have a process that is seamless for traders to be able to grow their business across the borders.
Right. We understand that you have engaged, of course, the Ministry of Trade on these issues. You have engaged the Minister of East African Affairs on this issue, and this is not an issue that has come in the fifth session of the East African Legislative Assembly. This has been on even before Honorable Mukasa Mbide did leave Eala.
Yes.
What makes you think that this time something could change?
I think the difference this time is that the East African Legislative Assembly is coming for a fact-finding mission. Despite the legislations, the policies that have been passed, and what the countries have reported to the ESC, I think this is the opportunity to meet the real traders, the actors in the cross-border business, and they hear first-hand information on some of the non-tariff barriers that are affecting business and trade across the borders. We think that this feedback will be taken in wholesomely, and also in the meeting we shall craft some of the solutions that can be fast-tracked by the East African community. And then also we shall build a document that we shall escalate and follow up and create a regional understanding between traders and how they can push in their countries for harmonization.
Right. Honorable Mukasa Mbide, moving forward, what should Eala focus be? I understand that, of course, the sitting in Kampala is going to touch on a number of issues I've been looking at through the list, but this third session and moving forward until they complete their term, what do you think the focus should be moving forward?
Yeah, majorly the focus should look forward to, one, the establishment of, first of all, a unified airspace interoperability, for purposes that we can have, first of all, reduced air tariffs. We can applaud the Republic of South Sudan for having successfully enacted the Civil Aviation Act. Now, the East African community must not conduct disjointed business. While Eala is proceeding in Kampala, it must also, its business should be in tandem with the business of sectoral committee, particularly the 19th sectoral committee on meteorology, transport, communications, for purposes that we can now realize similar business, that for as long as business has been generated, then it must be reduced into a legislative agenda, for purposes then that the business community will realize the fruits of the East African community integration agenda. Why, for example, would a flight from Entebbe to Bujumbura be more expensive than a flight from Entebbe to London Heathrow, for example? Where London Heathrow is $720 US for purposes of economy, and a flight from Entebbe to Bujumbura is close to $1,700 US. It is because the disjointedness with which the debate appears within the East African community among us, all of the organs established by the constitutive acts,
right,
is actually becoming also a very big problem. The summit moves, the assembly doesn't. When the assembly moves, you find that the sectoral council also now lags behind. It becomes the slowest ship in the convoy. We must be able to move together for purposes of realizing the East African community integration agenda.
That's a very important point that you raised right there, Honorable Mukasa Mbide. And to Joshua, if there's one thing you could point out that Eala could do in this particular session to support the business community amongst East African states, what would that be?
Eala should continuously come for feedback from the real actors in the businesses, and also take our feedback and escalate into the reports towards the different countries. But what we want Eala to achieve is to eliminate the bureaucracy at the border points and create seamlessly trade facilitation to enable us continue with our businesses. Thank you so much.
Joshua Mawere, the chairman, Kasita Youth League, and Honorable Mukasa Mbide, former